So we obviously we do a deep dive in terms of how I built the station inside the market. But I consider myself a hospitality professional that manages plants.
I think he's underselling himself a little bit short because he has 11 years in the industry. He's worked at all the restaurants to start, and then moved into the food side with your wife, right? And they started together, which I'm not sure if you know, but Morissette is one of two and not only that, at the ingredient provenance, the environmental footprint, the waste management, the social and ethical practices, and also kind of thinking about the conscientiousness of the food that you're making. So really excited to learn more about what you do here. And I think the goal is you'll see that you're kind of an outsider really in the farming world. You know, you didn't grow up with this. This is something that you came to.
Yeah.
And, you know, looking at his approach to regenerative agriculture and how he thinks about it in his context is very different from what we're going to see with the second panel. And so we're just trying to offer some kind of diversity in terms of the different voices that we're bringing to the room. And hopefully everyone finds that interesting. So without further ado, I'd love to learn more about that transition from working as a pastry chef into becoming a regenerative farmer at Morissette, and kind of how that shaped the way that you communicate with the chefs, how you work with the chefs, and create that connection to the food.
Yeah, that's a big question. So my background Therefore, I started to really begin to feel comfortable in terms of my ability to be able to produce, in my opinion, very world-class vegetables for what was soon to become a 2 Michelin star, 1 Green Star restaurant for Morissette. And soon we began to bring guests into the garden to lead garden tours. And for the last 4 years, we brought up to 15 guests, up to at times if it's divided up to 50 guests, which is crazy. People are around the farm for an hour and a half. To bring guests into the farm to get them to understand that the flavor is built in the field, and that 80% of the job of the chef is done when the farmer's done their job properly. And that the chef is responsible for interpretation of flavor, the dilution, the manipulation, the intensification, or like a small carrot, like we were just talking about before, maybe fucking nothing at all. Maybe it's just a little bit of like chew on a plate and some like other herbs. If you want to sit down and have a 2 Michelin meal and you're a genius, right? And a lot of it happened in the field. So the goal for us is to be as transparent as possible. I mean, really what it is, like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to like operating in the kind of fashion that we operate with in tandem with Restaurant for Morissette. And for me, the goal is to just show you that there's zero fun with smoke and mirrors. We're exactly who we see.
Yeah. I think that story resonates, I think, with people when we're so used to just going to the grocery store and, you know, where did you get this? Well, I got it from the grocery store.
Right? We can get anything we want, anytime we want. Yeah, tomatoes in summer, strawberries in January. It doesn't happen for us.
I always think that if you took someone from 1,000 years ago here, the first place I would take them is to the supermarket because I think they would actually just freak out. So, you know, you mentioned a little bit about measuring the amount of topsoil. I'm just curious, like, how does measurement technology kind of fit into the farm to table operations there at Morissette? How did you know you're going in the right direction?
I mean, a lot of farming is just observation. I mean, there's a lot of data that you can extract from the farm in terms of like the biology, mesobiology you have inside your soil, the amount of organic matter. But really, when it comes to like the operation that I run, it's like, are my chefs happy with this, right? Like, are they receiving ingredients that are novel? Are they receiving it in a timely manner? Do they feel like we're being as creative as they are on their end? We do measure. I mean, like organic matter is good for us. So I guess like really at the end of the day, it's like being a farmer is being observational. Every single year, like the first 3 years were a fucking absolute nightmare because I couldn't understand why all my plants were dying, knowing that everything was waterlogged and I had anaerobic soil. Now, 7 years in, things just begin to grow better every single year. I mean, I talked about chicories for us. Being the first time actually able to grow chicory that didn't rot from the inside out. Like, amazing. The chefs are like, this is the best. They have more. And like, yeah, sure. And that's what those conversations look like.
What were they serving if all your stuff is dying?
So we were lucky enough to be actually, I guess, go like really early on. Like I was asked to be part of Restaurant for Morissette a year before the restaurant was even open, and that's because one of the chefs that are one of the owners of the restaurant I worked really closely with in downtown Toronto. I'd known to Benny, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, and that was year 2, so I didn't really know what I was doing. When I first arrived, they were like essentially garbage bin cooking, taking like meat cups and making beautiful ingredients with oils that were on top of fish that were, you know, was flown in on the plane. And now like 99% of the ingredients that are served at a restaurant on our side are grown on the farm. It's in the same amount of hard work that's gone into this project. And yeah, I wish I could show you the plates that exist at Restaurant a year before I started. Because and like even the chefs there, like they didn't know. They were like, yeah, we're gonna open up a sustainable restaurant in Jordan Station with no other farmers willing to farm after October 17th. Because again, like if you're a farmer and like you've made all the revenue you can make, you know, you don't have to work during the winter months. What the fuck would you work during the winter months? Right, so we go right up into the summer. And I can cover this maybe a little bit further on, but like I'll pick ingredients off the farm in January. If it's above 0, I can use Mother Nature, use the land to store my carrots. Right, well, October 15th in Jordan Station, where we hit giant fruit. So I have cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, celeriac, kale, broccolinis, rapinis. That will all stand in the field. And these frost and thaws will make the vegetables taste better. We just pick them whenever we pick them. It's like nothing in the bush started.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Almost like that, like ice wine where you're picking it after it's actually sweeter.
Yeah, so we're not picking what's frozen. I mean, we can, depending on the processing, which is like another part of the unique aspect of what we have is that we don't need to produce beautiful vegetables for Restaurant for Morissette. They get whatever the fuck is look and feel, even if it looks a little bit gnarly.
So obviously you have a very different point of view, and I'm just curious. So when thinking about how do we take this model that you created at Morissette and think about what are the elements of this that you feel like could scale, and what innovations or changes in the supply chain are helping hurting that? I'd be really curious to hear your view on how we take this and then expand it more. And obviously there's a lot of producers that are already doing sustainable ag practices. Yeah. So it's not like it's something that's already happening. But I'm just curious from your point of view, like where do you see the opportunities and stuff?
So for me, and this is speaking specifically about who I am and what I do and where I'll take our Morissette report, what I'm doing as an individual further on. And for me, it really boils down to education, right? So you have the end consumer that if we were a little bit more understanding about how crops are grown and the individuals that are growing these crops and what it takes on a labor-wise to be able to grow them, I think we would have a little bit of an easier time to convince individuals to buy something that wasn't just perfectly curated, beautiful, long, straight carrot. Right? And I think it's education, and I lead with that because, for me, as a hospitality professional that manages plants, I was never taught anything about how to grow a beautiful carrot in culinary school. I was taught about how to make a beautiful pureed soup, how to make it velvety, how to source these carrots, how to cost those carrots, right? Never about how to grow it, not about the labor on the farm, never so. My goal, using Restaurant Morissette as an example, is to be able to hopefully teach the next generation of hospitality professionals the value in the ingredients that are grown and the individuals that are growing. Because we're going into an age now, and I call it great reskilling. You'll see a lot more plumbers, a lot more electricians, a lot more farmers, and hopefully we convince other people to be able to grow ingredients, or other chefs and for consumers as well too. But again, to really answer your question, is for me, it's going direct to the consumer. It's all about education.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really interesting. 1 in 9 in Canada in terms of jobs are agriculture related. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that. And so there's a huge opportunity for Canada to double down on that. And so when thinking about, with your context around, I guess you call them a premium food or luxury food, whatever you want to call it.
I guess. You could call it premium luxury. How we do it, yes, is luxury, and how it's being served is luxury. Yeah. You could pull a fucking small carrot from your backyard and be like, and it'd be the best fucking carrot.
Imagine trying to sun.
Yeah.
So, when thinking about kind of growing a pie for Canadian farmers for the industry, how do you see, how would you, now looking at some of the work that you're doing, how do we make Canada globally known for these ingredients, create more markets for us to sell to and really lean in on that kind of community?
I was around this question today. For me personally, I think we need more farmers. I don't think there's enough individuals that think that farming is an actual career path moving forward. I think a lot of times that individuals for the last decade have gone into finance, or have gone into business, or have gone into tech, or going into AI. Right? I think if being a successful farmer and paying livable wages and being someone that can be a little bit more forward on, I guess, social media in terms of marketing and make it exciting. Farming, for me, it's fucking rad. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. Obviously, too, you spend a couple of days with me, and even this talk, you realize I'm absolutely fucking addicted to do what I do for Restaurant Morissette. So I live on property. I work year round. I'm an employee of Restaurant Morissette, but nobody tells me what to do, what to grow, how to grow it, when to grow it, when to pick it. I live there. I get up in the morning. I look after the chickens. They're rotational. I go into the field. I check the crops, and I let them know what's available. And they're like, and then they send me a paycheck. So I think,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
The only thing is you don't get the big machines.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I'm a huge proponent of not using huge tractors. I'm a huge proponent of more small farms, small farms, more people on the farms, more hand tools, less big tractors, in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah. When it comes to vegetables, at least.
So just to finish off here, I'm just really curious. Was it how many years? 7 years you mentioned?
7 years of
Um,
establishing garden for Morissette.
so when thinking about those 7 years, reflecting on them, what's the one initiative project that you're most proud of over that time?
I'm excited that we've built what I would consider the first station inside the Modern Kitchen Brigade, where the chefs can have what they want when they want it in a timely manner. And we've cataloged over 300 ingredients, and the goal is to get to 10,000. And really what we're going to do, hopefully, in my opinion, is be able to take what we've done for Restaurant Pro Morissette and turn it into a model that we can give and maybe license to culinary schools and teach other individuals to do what we do for Restaurant Pro Morissette. Because I don't think there's any reason why what I do for Restaurant Pro Morissette couldn't do for a chain of restaurants in downtown Toronto that has a little bit of farmland where a farmer can go and be paid $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to grow lettuce, to grow other brassicas, to grow this ingredient, to know that that production system could go to that restaurant, to that consumer. Right? And that cohesive production system is something I'm happy about when we at least tie the hospitality professional into it.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie. Really appreciate your time. And
thank you.
All right, so just before we go, we do have some of Shane's produce actually over here, incorporated in some of the dishes. And Chef Miriam is going to come over and tell us a little bit about what we've been eating. Seems like it's been popular, so here you go.
I don't even have a garden at home. Well, a couple of plants in my balcony, they're dying now. No, it's so inspiring, so impressive what you do. And thank you so much for donating those ingredients. So we have carrots. We also have turnips, and I'm forgetting one more. There were 3. Daikon.
Daikon. Hallador rutabaga.
That's right, rutabaga, no turnips. Yeah. So what we did with those ingredients, honestly, I didn't want to touch them. They were beautiful, perfect looking, and very tasty, raw even. That's my favorite way to eat vegetables. So roasted the rutabaga with some carrots, and we make the vegan mac and cheese sauce. So that's why it has this beautiful color that it came naturally from the carrots, and also the sweetness. We added some honey, local honey too, but I think that the sweetness comes from the carrots itself. So after roasting them, the flavors have become even stronger. So I love that for the mac and cheese. And then the sushi roll or the sushi cone also has carrots from Morissette and daikos from Morissette as well. And yeah, that's about it. Everything else is thinking, getting ingredients that are sustainable, getting ingredients that are local as possible, but the same idea, the same lineup of the way of thinking that we need to do better when choosing ingredients and cooking with ingredients as well too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Lauren, what do we have coming up next?
Yes, well, we need to get some more seating here. But yeah, so we're just gonna invite our next act, if you will. So I'll invite up our next. Well, you can have a seat, you can have a drink, you can have a snack. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll invite up our panel and we'll invite up our moderator, Natasha.
Do you have enough space?
Yeah.
Yes. There we go. You don't want to be thinking about that the whole time.
When you make sure that it's I have to
So the two of you will share, and then the two of them can share.
I have to share with Joshua.
You two have to try.
Consequences. I'm not going to be that one. So why are we here?
We took her out.
So there's a few things I gotta say. I will be going down
There's like a gallon. Buffet style.
While we're having the conversation.
All right, everybody. Time to get everyone's attention. All right, I'm gonna give these for you two to share. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to pass it back and forth. Thank you. And I'll give this one to you guys. All right. I was supposed to do this at the very beginning, but housekeeping. Hopefully you found the bathrooms. Hopefully you found the coat rack, and hope you found the drinks. And now you know what is going on with the food. There's lots of food, so please help yourself in a bit. After this. Yeah, we only have one air fryer, so. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Natasha Shoot from RBC, and we'll take it away with this panel here. Really looking forward to it. Everybody eats, but we don't really see the process, as we just talked about, from what happens in that entire supply chain. So really lucky to have people in all different parts of that supply chain talking with us here today. All right, to the panel.
Thank you. So we're going to share this. That's the instruction. Okay, good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really thrilled to be moderating this conversation. I hope you can hear me. And so really excited to see, explore how we can strengthen Canada's position as a global food exporter through sustainability, innovation, and collaboration. And we know that Canada's agri-food sector has gained global momentum. We've moved from 11th to 7th place, apologies, among the G20 nations for innovation, trade, and sustainability. So I think that deserves a bit of a round of applause. And so it hasn't been smooth sailing. And so there are still many challenges, one of them being food affordability, and the other one being there's a bit of a slowdown when it comes to productivity in the country. And so the good news is we're seeing a lot of collaboration across Canada's food value chain, from the farmers to the retailers. We're seeing a lot of momentum build, and RBC is really proud to be a part of that. And so we are helping with tangible investment. So we're supporting by financing our clients' journey. So whether that's, helping a brewery move from, plastic packaging to paper packaging, whether that's financing a seafood processor to secure sustainably sourced inputs, whether it's the several biodigester projects we have that turn waste into clean energy, and that's just a few examples of what RBC has been doing. We're also a founding member of CANZA, so the Canadian Alliance for Net Zero Agri-Food, and so through that we're collaborating with different organizations. We're collaborating across the value chain to help move that sector towards net zero. And we've actually recently just made a big investment. And so I'm going to read this. RBC recently made a $5 million 5-year investment in Manitoba agriculture to support the next generation of farming, to help develop innovative solutions and practical solutions to grow sustainable agriculture in the region. So that's really exciting. And then RBC also works through, sustainability advisory and digital tools. And so we actually created a tool to support our farmers so they can actually measure, their emissions and see, how much more profitability they can create. And so it's really exciting through that work, what we've been able to achieve in this sector. And so I think I've done too much talking. And so we have, three leaders here. We have the experts, we have the retailer perspective, we have the producer perspective, and we have the manufacturer perspective. And so I'm just going to hand it over to Joshua to introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line. Yeah, here you go.
Thank you. Joshua Goodman. I'm the head of corporate sustainability for Sobeys. We are the second largest grocery retailer in Canada. You might in Toronto. You might know us for obviously our Sobeys stores, Freshco, but we're also very proud of some of our very Ontario-focused operations like Farm Boy and Longo's. We have in grocery over 1,600 stores across 10 provinces. So we're in every province, not the territories. We also have some other businesses like convenience, pharmacy, fuel. All told, we are about 2,000 sites across the country. So it's a big mandate that I love most days. Today was a good day, so we're going to say I love it. What I think is really great about Sobeys and their approach is we started as a meat cart, a butcher's cart in Nova Scotia, in Stellarton, Nova Scotia. You have to intend to go to Stellarton to go to Stellarton. It's not one of those towns you just pass through. And we've maintained that local feeling to the company. We are incredibly hyper local. We support local farmers. Randomly in Calgary, I had dinner with a farmer from Creemore, because that's where a farmer from Creemore and a guy from Toronto meet is in Calgary. He produces, so it goes. He produces cut lettuce and he sells to the many wonderful restaurants in the Creemore, Blue Mountain, Thornbury area up there. But he also sells to the Creemore Foodland. He says it's the only grocery store that will take just that product because we'll allow our stores to connect with the people in their communities and support them. It's also probably how every summer we rent a cottage in Haliburn and I probably drink bathtub kombucha that I was buying at the farmer's market and then found at the Foodland there too. So, we're really proud of working with those local suppliers and helping them. Hopefully I'll be able to share more about that. Oh, you've got yours.
Yeah, me and you.
My name is Jason Persall. I am a fourth-generation farmer located in Norfolk County. Raise your hands, anybody even knows where Norfolk County is? Oh, wow.
I'm surprised.
All right, well, we're also doing my whole
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So, I'm fourth generation, so we've had our heels dug in the soils, I like to say, in that county for quite some time. And 15 years ago, I made the, not so sure it was a wise decision, but we are where we're at today because of that, was that we vertically integrated our farm. So we took our fourth generation farm that was going down the road of regenerative practices back in the 80s when we didn't know it was a fancy word. We just thought we were being good stewards. And then we converted that over into the vertical integration where we installed an oil mill on our farm. We produce cold pressed virgin sunflower oil. We're the only and the largest expeller sunflower oil mill in Canada. We supply 3 silos of market segments. One is my guy next to me here. He doesn't even probably know it. I did my research.
Always come prepared.
We do supply Farm Boy. We buy sunflower oil and their private label in their stores. That's our oil. We also supply bulk oil into their commissary in Ottawa. Also, we supply many food manufacturers across Canada and the US with expeller sunflower oil. So we're indirectly in a lot of different foodstuffs in the retail space. And then we supply restaurants. So that's really how we kind of cut our teeth, was in the restaurant industry, and kind of evolved from there. So that's about it. Yeah, I brought my lovely daughter along with me. So it's a family operation.
We love that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Taylor Stanley. Before I start, I want to say a big thank you to the organizer of this event. Very grateful to be here, and especially grateful to see 2 farmers on the panels this evening. This is not a frequent occurrence. A lot of sustainability, agricultural related conferences that I've been to in the past, so amazing to have a farmer perspective. Please hold me honest, to be honest, for the rest of this panel as well. So my name is Taylor Stanley. I work at Riverside Natural Foods. We'll do a try this again. Who knows Riverside Natural Foods? No, not MadeGood. Come on.
Yeah, I kind of gave it away.
So Riverside Natural Foods is the name of the company. With MadeGood is our trademark brand. And my role is the impact strategy manager at Riverside. I've been there for about 4.5 years. It's a pretty inspiring story, at least I think so. It's a family company. They're still privately owned. There's 3 sibling founders, 2 sisters and a brother, Nina, Selma, and Sapafodova. They came over here to Canada from Iran when they were children. They had a family business with their father, a food manufacturing company. That business sold about 14 years ago now. And the opportunity to decide whether to go separate ways or use their years of experience together and start something new. And they made the right choice. They stuck together. They created Riverside Natural Foods. Salma is the director of procurement, sourcing, and impact. She buys the product. Safa is the sister. She's director of manufacturing. She makes the product. And Nina's the president right now. And so it was a great 1-2-3 combination. We really wanted to make a business that was more about just making a profit, really more of a bottom line philosophy, and really being purpose oriented. There's been some evolutions of the purpose statement. The most recent one last year, we evolved the purpose statement to inspire a healthier and more compassionate world where access to good food is available for all. It really is something that I'm personally trying to support the business to operationalize in a meaningful way. There's a lot of environmental and social impacts that I'm responsible for, but we also really want to have a small impact team and empower every other function across the business to really take ownership for their individual impacts and really drive and get those thousands of eyes and ears thinking about this on every side. MadeGood is a big proponent of organic agriculture. I've had the privilege of traveling all over the world to visit many farms over the past 4 years, and I've got more farms ahead. So I have a bit of an idea what happens on the farm. I haven't had the privilege yet of spending a week straight with my heels in the soil, as you said, but I love the opportunity because yeah, looking forward to chatting and answering some questions.
So we're all coming to your farm and doing a tour. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. Okay, group trip. Taylor, we joked a little bit because I said, like, when does he sleep? Because just the work that they're doing, there's so much, right? And so it's incredible work. So just, yeah, when do you sleep is the question. And I don't think you really answered me, but anyways. So in Canada, like, we are really good at innovation and collaboration. And so this is a question to all the panelists. If you had the global mic for a moment, in one sentence each, what's the biggest opportunity we have to turn that momentum into global leadership? So what would you say Canada should be known for? And I have some thoughts, but maybe start with you, Joshua.
Say greater self-sufficiency and food resiliency.
That's going to be a theme, I think.
Yeah, because of our involvement over the centuries and generations, and I know this firsthand as my travels around the globe, representing Canada and agri-food, is that our reputation is top-notch. And if I can put a feather in our hat, it's that we are known globally. And I look at my customers south of us, they look at Canada as this pristine country of mass opportunity when it comes to food production and clean food production and safe and healthy food production. We look into other areas of the globe, and they also look at Canada as just being that real safe place for food production. And I think we just need to build on that and do a better job at marketing that. And we need to do a better job at creating more vertical integration in Canada, but also Canada, as you know it, has been super duper at creating and growing raw material and sending it to another country to produce into something that's premium. And we like to pay premium and buy it back. And it's we got to stop that. And I like to be an example of we did that and made that decision 15 years ago to kind of put a knife in that chain and put a stop to that from our point. And we just need to do more of it. We need to replicate that. We need to multiply that. So if I can say anything, this could be my long expanded version.
It was around one second.
Yeah, it was around one sentence, fine.
I think those are both great, and I think what I'm going to reference is hopefully a symptom of those positive changes if we can make this happen. Canada being a place where no one is experiencing food insecurity. With all this talk about the food that we produce here and the bountiful capacity we have, we still have 1 in 5 Canadians facing food insecurity. We work closely with the Riverside Food Bank for the past few years, sending a lot of our semi-finished bulk goods where we work at repackage, distribute their food network. And what I learned was shocking. Before the pandemic, the Riverside Food Bank was spending $1 million a year preparing food for the food bank. Now they're spending $1 million a month. And 1 in 10 Torontonians are accessing the food banks on a regular basis. And I really believe if we want to be known for something in Canada, we'll be making sure that all of this beautiful, safe, clean food that we grow is going to the citizens that need it most. And then those citizens are turning around and being healthy and motivated to contribute to us and make us competitive on the global stage.
Yeah, the 1 in 5 Canadians is just astonishing.
It's actually 1 in 4 now.
Pardon?
That's not the progress. The 1 out of 5 Canadians are going to food bank.
No, it's scary. So every story has its challenge. And sorry, my thought around that opportunity was that Canada should be known for maple syrup with a carbon label. That was my idea. Now every story has its challenge. So we often get stuck at the commercialization stage. So we have those moments where we have great ideas, but they often get stuck maybe in the pilot stage. So let's be honest, the list of barriers is pretty lengthy, like an ingredient label, perhaps. So there's labor shortages, rising costs, data gaps, market access, and that's just a few of them. So if you had to pick just one ingredient to take out of the recipe, the one barrier that you think is holding us back from really competing on the global stage, what would it be? And what's one practical solution we can start doing right now to clear that path?
I think you alluded to it earlier. It's the missing middle in the food chain. We grow incredible raw ingredients. We heard Shane talk about those, and fortunately, at the restaurant, they can put it right on the plate there. But we send a lot abroad, and then we buy it back at that premium price, and that's the challenge. We've focused, particularly after January, when the world changed for everybody in Canada. We really doubled down on making sure that not just our products in our stores, but in particular our private label, our compliments, own brand products were as Canadian as we possibly could. One of the 3 categories under the Buy Canadian effort. We got to 48% pretty quickly, which is great. We would love to be further. And I don't think it's for lack of effort on our end or just because the numbers don't work out. It's because there's a lot missing there where we just cannot source 100% made products in Canada, even though the raw ingredient may be Canadian. And we've got to change that. And that also ties in, make sure we're building that processing capacity at a regional level so that food can be developed in the areas where it will be consumed as well. We don't need, to build a grain manufacturing facility in Ontario to take Alberta wheat, then send it back. Like, let's think from a sustainability perspective. We need to be regionally self-sustainable. And then, layered into that, when we do want things across the border, let's make sure we have harmonized regulations so we can move food across provincial borders a lot more seamlessly, because it's a problem.
Yeah.
Again.
I'm actually going to let you pass that along because apparently this is not working.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. So this is good. This is good.
You won. I did. I'm out of here, guys.
So persistent. That's a kind of a tough question in a way.
I'm trying to make it easy.
No, and it's not, because it's kind of $1 million question of how we advance agri-food in Canada. It takes a lot of investment, it takes a lot of organization, and I want to say it takes collaboration, and I'm almost getting sick and tired of that word because only because in the last 3 or 4 months I've been in a lot of different summits and leadership stuff, and it's all clap. But I'll just say this, as simple as it can be. as we're in a small group here, and I've spoken in front of hundreds of people in the past few months, all around the same sort of thing. In my one question, I said to the one summit is that we need more doers, and it's plain and simple. So we can walk around here and we can talk about it. As a farmer, we're doers, and I'm not patting myself on the back because every part of the supply chain have doers. We just need more of them, and we need less talk and more do.
That's much more succinct of what I'm going to say. It's beautiful, and I agree. I mean, what my perspective was in answering this question was we need more support for the transition to the next generation of farmers. That's something that we're very concerned about, especially being proponents of organic agriculture. That's already 2% of acres in Canada right now. So the future for organic production is already at risk. But the average age of the farmer in Canada is 57, I think, right now, and 58. There you go. It's going up every year, I guess. So yes, I wasn't going to ask. So, but that's honestly critical. And I think there's a lot of. It's not that young farmers do anything better. I mean, but they're just younger. They don't have the same, maybe you could say, baggage of experience, or that maybe they're more creative and want to try something new, and they can fail faster and then innovate in a different way. Maybe that can drive things forward. I think the younger generation has more information available to them than ever before. So maybe they already are starting a leg ahead with considering the agroecological perspectives that maybe some of the previous generations didn't have the luxury of. And I think to do that, to facilitate that, again, a doing campaign, some sort of federal, provincial, municipal campaigns to really, I think, recenter farmers as the heroes of our economy. I was thinking on the way here, you guys turn sunlight into food. That's pretty incredible. And you manage that. That is a pretty critical part of any society. And really focusing on profitability for farmers as well, and making it, as Shane said, like making it attractive. Shane, where is Shane? Making it attractive, making it cool, making it fun to do, and making it seem like a career that people want. I never thought about being a farmer growing up. In the books, whatever, when you're a kid, is the old MacDonald had a farm, all that stuff, but it was never really provided to me. And I grew up maybe in Oakville in the suburbs, and that's partly part of the reason. But I can't wait to try and figure out a way to get some land and grow some food. So if we can do that earlier on and inspire the next generation, I think we'll see dividends in the years to come.
Good.
I love that. So Jason, I think we're going to just dive a little bit deeper into the vertical integration of your business. Can you walk us through that journey in a little bit more detail, and how you've been able to embed sustainability in every single stage, and how that has made you more competitive?
So if I was to take you back into the beginnings of my generation, so my great-grandfather, they farmed for a different reason in those days, and that was to sustain family. They weren't thinking about feeding a nation. They weren't thinking about a global perspective. They just wanted food on the table, send their kids to school, and live happily. My grandfather came along. The doors were starting to already open. So this is back in the 20s and the 30s, pre-war, and in between the two wars. Opportunity was creating for him to start growing. We were a livestock farm. In fact, a portion of my family is still in livestock, in poultry farming. But my grandfather had a very unique crossbreed of chickens in those days that was for producing egg laying. And it was sought after. So he started selling these breeding chickens all over Ontario, but also New York State, Pennsylvania. So the farm started evolving from there. My father came along, evolved again, more on a global scale. We've seen our acres grow out, where we farm close to 1,000 acres now. And we started because the agricultural system was going more global. With that, you have practices that are old, and you start building into wanting to create a system of producing food with old systems. This wasn't working for us. And my dad was always a big advocate, and he's been gone for quite a few years now. But he said, Jason, we have to be good stewards of the land. So us farmers, we like to say, you look after the soil will look after you. And so that was embedded in me. And we started looking at systems back in the 80s. We didn't, like I said before, we didn't have a fancy word of regenerative back in those days. We decided it was being good stewards. We already started transitioning our farm into regenerative practice where we're minimum tilling and no tilling. But we also started realizing, and so there's a series of realizations on our farm. We realized that we need to take better care of our water. We need to take better care of how the climate can act on our field, and that's primarily towards wind and losing soil. How can we retain that soil? We don't want to lose the nutrients. We spend a lot of time building that. We don't want to lose it. So we started retaining more of the crop after we harvested the field. To fast forward that concept to today is that after a sunflower field, and that sunflowers is just one crop in our rotation of crops that we grow, because we part of a regenerative program that we need to rotate as many crops as we can through our farm to mitigate pests and diseases. And sunflowers is such a unique crop. It was the most vital and most important crop that we started putting in a rotation. And it also created an opportunity for our oil mill to capitalize on a market in oil, sunflower oil, that was not being done in Canada. What sunflowers do to our soil is, and I don't want to bore you to death on this stuff, but it does. The sunflower plant is so unique because it has such a unique biodiversity in itself, unlike any other crop that we grow. And they're all special. They all have their place. But sunflowers tap a root deeper than any other plant that we grow on our farm. And what does that mean? Well, it creates an air pocket for water and oxygen to go deep into the soil. But the bigger component of that is that it's a miner. It mines nutrients that are below all our other growing crops. Brings that up, doesn't use it all, loves to mine more than it needs, and leaves that up into the top 6 to 8 inches of growing topsoil in our fields for the next crop. And it's super cool that it does that. And I would have never guessed that when I started growing sunflowers, because it's not like sunflowers are new. It was new to us growing on our farm 15 years ago. But we realized that we were increasing the fertility of our soil, as well as we leave the stalk after we harvest it, so that it sits in the field. It looks very ugly. So I know you know what a sunflower looks like when it's pretty in bloom in July, but it's also the ugliest looking plant when it's harvested. So it's the prettiest and ugliest always. And then when you harvest it, it even looks uglier. And my wife always said when we have sunflowers after, she goes, man, the fields just look so ugly. I know, like they do, because they look so pretty in July and they look so ugly now. But the stalks left in our field do such a benefit because they're like a big snow fence out there, and it traps the snow. And snow is a big nutrient component for us. It also is a slow release of H2O to our farm. And so it works really good on that part. It keeps the wind, keeps our soils put, and we really like that part of it. So we practice a bunch of different regenerative practices on our farm. Started this back in the 80s and 90s when it wasn't even cool to do that. Now it's super cool. Our farm, we took the same concept of that to our oil mill. And it's like, what? Regenerative to your oil mill? In a way, we've created this circular ecosystem with our oil mill. Not a lot of manufacturers can boast that they actually have just a direct tie to the farm. We do, because we can step right outside our mill. There's the farm. And the unique part of that piece of that circular ecosystem for our mill is that we have absolute precise control over every step of production, from the seed that we select for the growing. And we're not just the only producer of sunflowers to our oil mill. We need at least 2,500 acres of sunflowers to sustain our mill for the full year of production. Our mill runs 24 hours, 7 days a week, all year long. And so we need other growers. And so that enables us to have a very direct control on the seed that they choose to grow in their field. It creates a consistency for us. 85% of our growers are 100% regenerative. The last 15 to 20% are in transition. But then we control the seed from their farm. It comes to our farm. We condition the seed from drying aspect to storing it, to cleaning it, and it goes to the mill. We see all the pieces to that. And I know, like, I talk about this and it seemed boring to me, so I'm sure you're bored listening to this. But the traceability part of it for us is like stellar, because we can trace it right back to the farm and right back to the field. And so when a customer, and we have manufacturers, we have an open door policy, so manufacturers, retailers, whatever, they have the ability to come and tour through our mill. But we also can tell them right when they buy a tote of our oil, exactly what farm it came from, who it came from, when it was produced, and when it was processed. And that's kind of how we got started, and that's how we see the benefits of our regenerative practices on our farm that started generations ago in transition to where we're at today, and how we take regenerative and actually marry it to a collaboration with our oil mill to make it a seamless move right from field to shelf. So, I got a question back there. Am I allowed to take questions? Somebody's got a hand up. Okay, well, that's a whole other topic if you want to get into. This year, we are 100% upcycle and everything. So in our mill, everything that comes in our door has a place that goes out. Our oil goes obviously to the customers I told you about, but what's super cool over that is that you have seed and we split it into two pieces from that. We have an oil and we have a meal. They call it a meal. That's the spent seed without the oil. It has a purpose, twofold. One is it's a great livestock feed. So we have a feed mill that picks it up every week, but we also supply it as a protein flour, and we're slowly developing that. We're actually working on some IP right now as we speak, in collaboration with I'm using that word a lot. I know, and I didn't want to say it. With a university, and that's going to really see all that sunflower protein go into the food market. All our tailings, so when I say tailings, it's all the cleanings that come out of our seeds. So you have little bits of fines, a bit of husk, a little bit of weed seeds, a little bit of dust, whatever, all that stuff, and the hulls from our dehulling all go to a bio furnace that heats a greenhouse operation. And it's Rosa Flora in Dunville. There are 30 acres of under glass that they supply roses all over North America. And then the other part is my daughter's managing this is we're actually, some of the waste stream that comes out of our filtration is going to be going into a soap brand. And so it's really cool for us just to see the innovation and the transition of how we're going to take everything and upcycle everything that comes in our door. It's got a place that goes outside of our door. So we literally are throwing nothing away now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think traceability is also, a key topic and is a key topic as well. And like consumers want to know, right, where all that food comes from. So I think traceability is a big piece as well. So how can Canadian producers scale sustainable practices without making food less affordable?
Okay, I'll be really quick with this because I know I gabbed that way too long. That's a farmer, and I'm my dad. It's pretty simple, to be honest with you. The whole concept of regenerative practices, and we run a very balanced regenerative practice. And what I mean by that is that we don't discredit some of the practice that we did in the early days of tillage, but we minimum till, and we run a balanced system. The reason why we do that is that we have to really, as we rotate our crops, we also have to rotate our practices of how we treat our soil as well. And so the costs of actually doing that and implementing regenerative practices in our farm are really not that expensive. And there's a strong benefit, not just of being stewards, but it also improves our yield. We also see our inputs coming down, and so it's not costing us so much to grow a crop. And we're growing on a larger scale. And by and large, Canadian agriculture is pretty large. And when I said 1,000 acres, some of you may be pretty impressed with that. It's not impressive because we're on the low scale of acreage on a farm. And so you have to look at it on a micro scale and a macro scale. And regenerative practice really is not expensive, and there's a huge uptick to it and less of a bottom, hurting your bottom line. Did I answer it?
You did. And please feel free if one panelist says something that the other one doesn't agree with, jump in, or if you want to build on something, please. Yeah, absolutely.
No fighting.
No, it's just that I, coming from a consumer brand that already pays a lot for our organic premiums for ingredients, it's been a very interesting discussion we've had for a long time about additional premiums for regenerative practices on farm. I believe that one of the core tenets of more regenerative practices on farm is increased farmer profitability. And if that is the case, then a premium in perpetuity doesn't really seem to make sense. Food is already very expensive. If we can lower the input costs and make the farm more resilient at the same time, there will still be transition costs and risks. And that's where we have a regenerative organic oats program right now out in the prairies. We've got 32 farmers who are in that program right now, representing over 50,000 acres of organic production. And it is to support them in the transition of learning more about these practices, adopting these practices, and trying to build a bit of an ecosystem and a community of practice to provide resources for the learning journey and kind of after they graduate through the program. But again, the goal is long-term profitability and resilience of the farm. So it shouldn't be more expensive in the end. That is the goal.
If I could add to that, I think our role in the function is that scale. We can provide that scale. Working with suppliers, and we do this. We'll have a cadre of local suppliers every year. We reached about 1,400, 1,500 last year. But there was a good cohort of about 150 that we were able to help scale nationally in the course of the year. And so providing that ability to say, okay, you're going to make these things, but we're going to allow you to have that volume of sales, which will, as you grow, lower the price, I think is an important piece. And then I think another thing where we try to play in that role of getting these good products, people at a lower cost, is when we can partner, when we can collaborate. I'll just steal your term.
Stealing my thunder.
That's when we can do that on as we do on sunflower on private label products, we're able to offer that at a much more affordable price. We've been focusing a lot on bringing some sustainable products. Like this year, we just launched MSC certified tuna fish under compliments. It makes it's on par with non-certified tuna fish in terms of its cost. It's a really good opportunity because we're able to offer it at, we've taken one person out of the value chain, and that saves a lot of money.
Absolutely. I think we have a burning question over there, so we're gonna go off script and go for it. I think we'll go.
Well, I was just going to make a comment on that. You're absolutely right. And you may be aware or may not be aware, but farming is extremely capital intensive, and it's the most capital intensive industry known to mankind. And most of my friends that are outside of farming ask me why. And I don't even know how to answer them, mostly because primarily I have a value added operation that helps sustain the farm and make it thriving and flourish. But there's a lot of investment that we have in the farm that we've done over the years, meaning just with equipment, but with technology. And so technology, I'm speaking primarily with GPS, and AI is going to play a big role into that soon. We have automation and self-controlled tractors going across the field. It's already there and it's already moving, and it's happening pretty quickly. But that technology has enabled us to be way more efficient and make much better use of our resources. And that's what's really important with us. But outside of that comment, also with farming in grains and oilseeds in this country, we are bound by the global economy. And that's why we started our vertical integration back 15 plus years ago, because we wanted to step away from that global economy. And when I say global, we are dictated as to, farming is the only industry out there that has that. We are dictated of what it costs to grow it. We're also dictated of what we're going to get paid to sell it. We don't really have any control over that. Why? Because in grains and oilseeds, it's all traded out of the Chicago Board of Trade. We can see that, and it flips just like the stock market every day. Grains, and it goes up and down with dollars and tariffs, disputes, country disputes. Like the market is just all over the place. There's no consistency with that. That's the real basis of where agriculture is today. But if we can create something more of me or what I'm doing, it pulls that equation out. We're not dependent on that global economy. Chicago Board of Trade does not dictate on what I pay for my crop to come to my mill. I dictate what it comes to the mill. And if my customer or my supplier is willing to take that, then that's great. So that is that kind of ecosystem that we've wanted to build in our building. Sorry.
How difficult is it to accomplish what he said? Because it's commodity at the end of the day.
It's commodity at the end of the day. Yep, absolutely. And it's been a long time, 15 plus years to build this business.
So
I started the mill from scratch. I didn't have a customer. I didn't have anything when I started it. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and prayers to get it to where it is today. But in time, you kind of grow it, and you start, like anything else, opportunities present themselves as you go down that road. Why? Because 15 plus years ago, I was a doer, and I just stood up to the line. Opportunities don't present themselves when you stand 20 feet back from the line. Step up to the line, put yourself at risk. Sometimes your pants fall to your ankles. It's okay. Keep looking. You have to be at the line to see the opportunity. And that's just what it took. And it created that opportunity. Then opportunities started coming. And we started seeing growers, hey, can we grow some sunflowers in our, we're seeing how you're progressing in that. And so it just kind of built, and it snowballed from that. And we see just our mill is like, we just went through a million plus expansion in the past 12 months here in our mill. And so we just see that evolving year over year. And it does take time to create our own ecosystem and our own currency, if you can call it that, with sunflower seed and oil.
Really briefly, just wanted to add that I completely agree. I alluded to that earlier about the risk mitigation and how we've attempted to do that with financing the project in collaboration with our partners like Canadian Organic Growers, Nature's Path Organics, and Bay State Milling. But I'm also excited to be able to share and hopefully inspire other businesses. Salma Fodavat, one of the founders who I report to, she's broken the mold a little bit in our sector by securing a few 3-year long contracts, forward contracting in combination with the mill and the grower. And it's been an interesting kind of dynamic to explore this cross supply chain. And everyone takes a bit of a hit and a risk, and we all share it together. And I really expect to provide that for the long run. We're not soon, so we're continuing continuing to grow. So we know our demand's going to be there, and we want to be able to share in that for with our partners upstream. But you're completely right. It takes across the supply chain to do, and it would be great to see more of that. Yeah.
Taylor, sorry, we're going to pass that.
Thank
Do you want to speak a little bit about innovation and what you're doing on the packaging front?
Yeah, I'm sure we're jumping over questions here because we're going over.
Oh, it's okay.
No, it's good. It's good. Packaging's great. Yeah. I love it. No, packaging has been just packaging. So that's, to me, I mean, packaging has been our most tangible negative environmental impact as a business. Every time you open a bar or a pouch, for the most part, it is in MLP, multi-laminate plastic structures. It's not economical for any material recovery facility or recycler to kind of delaminate these and source segregate, and it's a problem. And I'm very fortunate to work at a company that is purpose-driven and is more about just the profit. And we are also we're privately owned. So our pressures from stakeholders are different than those that are publicly traded and kind of have a shareholder mandate. So the analogy that I really love that Nima, our president, has used for a long time is we have to work on turning off the tap and mopping the floor when it comes to our packaging footprint. And so we have partnered with Repurpose Global. They're a organization, a for-profit company that we partnered with back in 2021. And our partnership with them sees us measure and track our plastic footprint every quarter. Every kilogram of plastic that goes out the door, we report on how much that is. We send that total tonnage to Repurpose Global, and we pay them a fee per kilogram. They take that money and they find community-based projects around the world in the areas that are facing the majority of the plastic pollution problem that we ship from the north, global north, to the global south. So we have 3 projects in India, 2 in Indonesia that we're supporting, and they fund projects that divert that equivalent amount of low-value flexible plastic from nature, not one PET bottle for 15 wrappers. It is this low-value material that is typically not collected, and it is making us plastic neutral. I don't love credit systems by any means, but it really is making an impact. And we've had the pleasure of visiting these company or these projects in India back in 2022. Myself, Salma, and Satyam, our packaging manager, went there and really saw the projects on the ground and saw the impact that they were having, not only environmentally but socially, providing dignified work to mostly women, and providing waste management services to hundreds of thousands of people who've never had it before. This is us mopping the floor and taking ownership for what's previously and typically considered just a negative externality, and that's why plastic packaging is so cheap. But this is the real cost, and we are all paying for it. I don't have to remind you all, I will though right now, about the credit card of plastic that we're consuming a week. You've all heard the scary stats about that, and that stuff is real, and it is something that we need to address. So we know we're contributing to that, and we are adamant about spending money on innovating in more circular packaging materials, non-petroleum based, where we can do it. We're really leaning into paper. We're very bullish on paper right now. We've had a lot of success. I've been blown away by the acceleration of the technology for paper packaging over the past few years. We've got some ambitious goals in the next few years to really roll out some significant portion of our product line to paper packaging. And so then my world is all trade-offs. Okay, we're not drilling oil and making petroleum-based plastics. Now we're cutting down trees for paper packaging. So what are we doing? At the very least, we are ensuring that we are sourcing FSC certified material. We talk about traceability, making sure that all of our materials are coming from responsibly managed forests, ones that I can go to and visit. We partnered with Canopy earlier this year rather, and have commitments to eliminate endangered and ancient forests from our supply chain. We don't have any. We already use FSC certified fully recyclable tree fibers for our paperboard and corrugate. But when we move to flow wrappers and bars and pouches, we're going to want to talk about that a lot more. And we're going to need to do some education as well, which is a big part. So that's really helped us internalize the cost, the true cost accounting of what packaging is, building that into our P&L. And that really set us up for success when we learned a lot more. And as we're going through the extended producer responsibility transition that's happening in North America. So now we have a line item for repurposed plastic credits. That's a price per kilogram on top of our plastic consumption. And we are getting ahead of the game with EPR transitioning for Ontario, Alberta, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. We're now obligated to report. And then California just had to do a couple weeks ago, Oregon, I think Minnesota, Maine, Colorado. They're all coming online now. So it's really set us up for success
to get ahead of the market, and then hopefully through the different material fees that they're sharing, and that these there's different per province and state. Ideally, it should be set up in a way where it's more incentivized to go to more sustainable materials, and we're seeing it in some states, we're seeing it in some provinces, not in some others. But either way, we're going to go in this direction. And to your point about private label, we do private label manufacturing as well. So if we can really push some of the national brands that we have to demonstrate, hey, we have proven this technology out in our brand, and we've done the analysis to look at the fees you will save on extended producer responsibility over the next 5 years. How can we support you to transition to this? I think this will give us a leg up in all the RFPs that we've got going out, and I'm excited to see that come to fruition. All the win-win-wins. Yeah.
I would say that the extended producer responsibility thing has also element to the program, and its growth in Canada has now created a shareholder accountability for publicly traded companies as well. Because it's, when I worked in the toy industry a few years back, there wasn't even a budgeted line for the EPR fees in Canada. It was just kind of, we'll write a check at the end there. It's fine. Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. Now it's astronomical, and it's growing, 50, 100% a year. And we're, if we come in flat on a year-over-year basis, that's because we've significantly reduced our use of plastic materials and the most expensive materials. And so we don't even get to celebrate that because we're flat. That's fine. And then I look at the underlying numbers and go, wow, congratulations, everyone. That's amazing.
So jumping back to you. So food insecurity, we talked about that a lot. So how can retailers play a stronger role in improving access to nutritious and affordable food while still scaling and meeting their sustainability targets?
Well, they go hand in hand. I could hand this over to Lori over here from Second Harvest, because food waste reduction has been a primary focus for Sobeys. There's two primary metrics we've worked on from the outset of our sustainability journey. Reducing our scope 1 and 2 emissions from 2019, we're at 30.1%, which is, I'll let you read our peers' reports, much better. And food waste reduction. We set a target in 2016 of reducing our food waste by 50% by December 31st of this year. There's nobody at the company who was around when we set that goal, so we always just yell at an empty chair with frustration. So yeah, the last person retired about 6 months ago, and we actually think he might have been responsible, but kept passing the blame to other people. As of May, we were at 45.3%, which is incredible. Again, I will let you read my peers' reports, but we are way ahead of the curve, and that is, I have to say, we were floundering for a while, and then when we built our partnership in Harvest, they helped us scale nationally. We helped them scale nationally. And in 5 years, oh God, I just wrote this down. What are we at? It's, I think, over 100 million meals provided to people. For the last 3 years, we've been their food rescue partner of the year. Yeah. Oh, I got thumbs up. Okay. Getting my tux ready for February. Here we go. Very excited. We've done, we've really focused on it. We've made it part of the culture. I had dinner a couple nights ago or a week ago with a store operator, and she was complaining to me that sometimes the data doesn't show up, or the verification of our donations doesn't show up in the system as quickly, because she said, I want to tell people how much more we've done. We want this, we want to be recognized. Like, we love doing this. And so we've embedded it in the culture, and that's what provides people, the way we can help to make sure that if we have too much food in our store, it still ends up in the mouth. And that's the most important thing. And so we've done that. We've also launched a donation program, a discount program where we put food on an app and you can buy it at a significant discount. That's helped people access particularly meat, because there's a bizarre, sort of block in people's minds in stores. They're like, oh, we shouldn't donate the meat that's close to code because we might hurt people eating it. But apparently we can freeze it and just sell it. So they do that there, but we've continued, despite that program, and it's scaling across English Canada. It's already very strong in Quebec. We haven't seen a drop off in our donations. It's just become part of the culture of our stores. And we're at over 90% store participation, including franchise stores where we don't have control. And about 50% of our business is franchise.
Amazing. Incredible work. I know we're kind of at time here, but just we're way over time. But just one last question for all panelists, and sort of a forward-looking question. So what's one partnership or one pilot you'd like to see launched in the next 12 months that you think could accelerate Canada's competitiveness?
Can someone else go first?
Go ahead, Taylor.
Okay. Yeah. So I mentioned, Riverside, big proponent of organic agriculture, and it's not a perfect system by any means. It is the only federally regulated eco logo that exists. We've got equivalency arrangements with other countries. It serves a market function that we need as a global brand. And so the Canadian Organic Alliance, which is a coalition of the Canadian Organic Trade Association, Canadian Organic Growers, and the Organic Federation of Canada, have been working together for the last 3 years to come up with the Organic Action Plan, which is a holistic plan that was just published in October. I was there with Salma and the Organic Summit, a bunch of organic advocates in Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, and we were lobbying on Parliament Hill for adoption of this plan. We believe that this is an easy win if you take a minute and really think about all the benefits that come from organic agriculture. It addresses all of our national goals, all of our federal goals. That we think that there's incredible opportunity for us. It's a $9.75 billion industry right now, but that is with very poor data. We need much more data to really represent what the actual opportunity is. And we think that federal support, provincial support, local support, more education about what's going into your food, all of these benefits are only going to be to help address a lot of the challenges that we're facing as a nation right now. And I feel a responsibility and have the privilege to be an advocate for organic. So if any of you have an opportunity to speak to any of your local MPs, or you want to go to the Canadian Organic Trade Association website, look up the Organic Action Plan, share it on socials, do whatever you can. You can follow me on LinkedIn, send me a connection, and we can talk. But we had one of our MPs, Judy Segro, spoke up in the House of Commons and spoke about it the other week. And we're just trying to democratize it, get it in people's ear, and hopefully see some modest investments that we're asking for over the next few years. So I would love to see that in the next 12 months be formally adopted.
I would just say like RBC's, goal, RBC's, partnership with Carbonhound is really essential in supporting our clients to be able to do that data collection so they can measure and they can report and meet their stakeholder expectations. So for us, continuing to scale that partnership is really essential. But I'd give you a little bit more time to answer.
I've got it now.
I'll be real quick, and I think we need to get into our educational system, bring back agriculture into our education. It fell off. I was one of the last people through high school that actually had horticultural class in high school. Not every high school had it. It's non-existent. Why? We don't even properly teach food in schools now. So we need to think about that. Like Taylor, we need to contact our MPs and why did that leave our education system? I think if we start teaching kids about our agriculture and Canadian agriculture, agri-food, the potential, the opportunities in this country, as a student going through public and high school, post-secondary, I think we can do a lot better job with that. I would like to see that as a pilot project.
I guess if the Prime Minister was sitting here, I'm sure he's watching online, so he'll hear this. Yeah. Hey, Mark. I would say treat food and Canada's food industry as a national security issue. It's a matter, it is a priority, and also as a nation building issue. We haven't seen a single mention in the discussion of the myriad nation building projects, even when we were in the wish list phase that was being leaked across the media. We haven't heard anything related to food. Even if it was just another rail line to speed up the transportation of food across the country, so it didn't have to go north before it goes south and then go back up and down and get stuck because of the snow. Even that would be something, and a recognition of how important it is. But when you have 1 in 4 Canadians struggling with food insecurity, it is a national security issue, and we've got to start treating it that way.
Thank you. We have, go ahead.
I just had a question on
Sure.
food security, because it was one of the topics we wanted to mention. When we talk about the role of CFIO, it's really important they work with the absolute job in controlling the food import to Canada. Because I I'm an importer myself, and I'm facing the real issues in control of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency of the imports of product. No one is talking about it, no one. And they're doing an absolute horrible. One of the recent recalls that it really affected a lot of people is the recall on the environmental side. That recall was done 20 years ago. And the recall is calling for recall from 2023. So we're going to go on and look at the source system of 2023 that we have recalling where they're going to recall. It's just absurd, you know, and that's something that you also need to talk about. It's not only in Canada, we import a lot of products across the globe, and no one is talking about it. The only thing that they are afraid about is dairy and egg. The rest of it is just free. The border is wide open.
No response. I just want to thank. Yeah, that's all. We can have another conversation, and that'll be the topic. Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to thank the panelists for all their valuable insights. I heard a lot about partnership, and I hate collaboration. I'm going to say the word, Jason. And just like I think we have a lot of good stuff happening in Canada, and how can we continue to build on that and continue to bring innovation here in Canada? I think. So thank you so much for your insights. I think we are going to have Lori from Second Harvest come up and say a few words. We wanted to have more impact. No.
Okay. You know what? Thanks. I love this, but Josh hit all my topics.
I feel like he tends to do that, right?
He did a great job. 1 in 4.
Oh.
Well, like that's the projection. It's not great. We don't want to waste food. Sorry, I'm very loud. I really have nothing else to say except for thank you to Carbonhound for selecting Second Harvest as the charity of choice for this event. And if you have anything extra to give, including food, right? Like if you know any food businesses, which I know you do, we have a great app. Go to the Second Harvest Food Rescue app. The more food we can get out to communities, the better. Like we're supporting over 6 million people across Canada now, and everybody collaborating on it would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much for our panelists. Half of you are thirsty, half you have to pee, maybe both. Appreciate your patience.
Food,
Get these
lots of
chairs out
food.
here and eat and drink.
Be merry. Thank you so much.
Amazing. That's great. Yeah.
Kind of